Good afternoon, student. My name once again is Dr. Bidemi Badmos. In our last class, we holistically look at the meaning of a system, the attributes of systems, and we also talk about uh, the distinguished features of a system. If you can remember rather, I specifically made mention that the point to start with when discussing uh, international political system and African one is to first look at the system itself, because understanding of the system will eventually provide a copious knowledge of what international system or international political system is all about. And we are able to fully discuss the meaning of systems, the meaning of a system, why system is important, and the attributes or features of a system. We look at all those things. And today, we are going to be looking at the Second World War and its influence in the structure of international system. The Second World War and its influence on the structure of the current international system. And this give an impression that there was a world war before the Second World War, which was First World War. We are still going to look at all those things. And we are still going to, on this particular section, we are going to look at the international system before the Second World War. International system before the Second World War. Then we move on to look at the effect of the Second World War and the First World War on the current structure of international political system. So at this junction, I will briefly provide a brief definition of international political system. By definition, you can simply define international political system as a collection of independent states that exist and interact with one another on a regular basis, which their interaction is simply based on principle and understanding. And this takes us to the question of international law, because there are a lot of questions that have actually popped up when we are talking about international law. Some scholars have argued that there is no international law. The effectiveness of compliance to international law depends on how much power an independent state wield in international political system. The reason why states like United States of America and some other bigger or superpower country like China and the like, sometimes they jettison the dictate of international law, and that render it more ineffective. So people have argued that international law actually exists when the international system is relating to the weaker nation, or is interacting with the weaker nations of the developing world. So that's not where we are going, but just to tell you that whatever interaction, relationship that exists among states, independent states, it is simply guided by principle and understanding. So then we now look at the international political system before the outbreak of Second World War. And it is important to note that before either before the First World War in the post First World War, before the Second World War, or shortly uh, uh, okay, before the First World War and in the post First World War. It's important to know that there was never an existence of superpower state. Then what we used to have is conglomeration of smaller semi-powerful states, in the sense that all these states exist, or that exist at that or existed at that time, could not exercise a domineering power over other independent states. That does not mean that we don't have states that are more powerful than the other. But the point I'm driving at is to tell us that, unlike what we have in the current international political system, where we have superpower that exert its influence far and beyond its own territory to other countries, then we don't have states that command such huge political power or military power. What we used to have then was the existence of empire and kingdom. One of these empire was the German Empire then, which was created by Otto Bismarck, who later became the Chancellor of Germany in 1862. And Otto Bismarck was noted for his iron and blood policy. Then we also have the United Kingdom, formed by the British Empire. So, and that was in 1801. So, at this period, what we used to have was a kind of diffuse power, not superpower. The power that has been exercised not on a global scale, because they are contending forces or powers in a smaller way that could checkmate the external aggression as at that time. Because then the modern technology like atomic bomb, intercontinental ballistic missile, and the like, they were yet to be developed. Then we look at the event that led to the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. The First World War broke out as a result of the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand of Austria, who was assassinated by Serbia liberation fighter called Garfield. This assassination led to formations of alliances, particularly two major alliances between the smaller power that were existing as at that time. One of these alliances was Triple Entente, that comprises of Yugoslavia, USSR, UK, Italy, and France. At the other hand was the alliance called Central Powers. They were formed by countries like Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Turkey. And if you look at this calculation, as at then, you discover that the only country that is strong in the Central Power appeared to be Germany when you compare it to the Triple Entente. So the two alliances fought each other. They fought themselves to still. And there was no victor or vanquished. You know, when you are talking about there was no winner or loser in that war. But something happened toward the end of that war. The United States of America stepped in and he joined the Triple Entente. And his presence compelled or forced the Central Power to sign the peace agreement. And that peace agreement was signed in France, in Versailles city in France. And that put an end to the First World War in 1919. Then we talk about the effect of the First World War. We want to look at the effect of the First World War on international political system as at then. The first thing is there was an agreement, particularly that was as it was suggested by Roosevelt, who happened to be the United States of American president at that time, that what actually led to the First World War was as a result of lack of understanding among the world leaders, that there should be a body, organizations that will represent the world, under which leaders can come together to resolve their conflicts. The leaders can ameliorate their conflicts amicably through this forum, and that was what led to the formation of the League of Nations. So the League of Nations was created in 1919. It is important for you to understand that you are not just to watch the video for the sake of just watching it. You must digest and buttress with your own knowledge and other material being provided. I'm doing this for you to have a classroom atmosphere or experience, so that will give you a full grasp of what we are trying to, the message we are trying to pass across. At this particular time, communism began in USSR in 1922. Going further, Benito Mussolini, a fascism leader, also become the premier of Italy in 1922. I want you to follow the sequence of the event immediately after the post First World War. The first thing was the world leader agreed that the First World War broke out as a result of misunderstanding between or among the world leaders, and they agreed that they should create a world body under which conflict dispute can be resolved, and that led to the creation of the League of Nations in 1919. And we said the second event was the emergence or the creation of ideology of communism in 1922 by USSR, followed by